Well, good afternoon. I've asked you, I'm releasing a statement on the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the 1st of August 2018 post-election violence. On the 14th of September 2018, I established a Commission of Inquiry into the 1st of August 2018 post-election violence in terms of the Commission of Inquiry Act, Chapter 10.07, through Proclamation 6 of 2018, published in Statutory Instrument 181 of 2018. At the time, I promised that I will have a transparent process for the Commission to receive evidence, and that was done. I also promised that I will make public their findings. This is what I am doing. The Commission was chaired by His Excellency Motlanthe, the former President of the Republic of South Africa, and composed of 6 other commissioners whom you already know: Mr. Rodney Dixon, QC, United Kingdom; Chief Emeka Anyuku, the former Commonwealth Secretary General from the Federal Republic of Nigeria; General Davis Mnangagwa, the former Chief of Defense Forces of the Tanzania People's Defense Forces; Professor Chad Manyeruke, Political Science Professor, University of Zimbabwe; Professor Love Maduku, Faculty of Law, University of Zimbabwe; and Mrs. Mbai Nyamba, the former President of the Law Society of Zimbabwe. The terms of reference which I crafted for the purpose included the following: to inquire into the circumstances leading to the 1st of August 2018 post-election violence; to identify the actors and their leaders, their motive and strategies employed in the protests; to inquire into the intervention by the Zimbabwe Public Police in the maintenance of law and order; to investigate the circumstances which necessitated the involvement of the military in assisting in the maintenance of law and order; to ascertain extent of damage or injury caused thereof; to investigate into any other matter which the Commission of Inquiry may deem appropriate and relevant to the inquiry; to make suitable recommendations and to report to the President in writing the result of the inquiry within a period of 3 months from the date of swearing in of the commissioners, and direct that the inquiry may be held both in public or privately as the exigencies of the inquiry may demand. The Commission was expected to complete its work within a period of 3 months and submit its final report to the President by the 19th of December, tomorrow. I have received and read the final report from the Commission, and I am satisfied that the Commission of Inquiry diligently carried out its mandate. I would like to thank Honorable Motlanthe and all the commissioners for the work done on the challenging task. I also want to thank all stakeholders who made representations to the Commission and all who cooperated with the Commission to ensure successful achievement of the Commission's mandate. I hereby release the report of the Commission. This is the full report of the Commission for the hard copy. Findings of the Commission. I'm only releasing to you now the findings of the Commission. but you shall have access to the entire report. The circumstances leading to the 1st of August 2018 post-election violence and the actors. The environment preceding the 30th of July 2018 national elections was generally peaceful, with all political parties conducting their campaigns freely. B, the public media leaned more in favor of the ruling ZANU-PF, whilst independent media was heavily tilted in favor of the MDC alliance. C, the elections conducted on the 30th of July 2018 were peaceful and orderly, as supported by the Observer Mission's report. D, the election itself was adjudged to have been free and fair by most observers as per their reports. E, the Commission was struck by the deep polarization between the country's two main political parties, ZANU-PF and MDC Alliance, and their supporters. F, on the basis of the evidence presented to the Commission, the protests were pre-planned and well orchestrated, as shown, for example, by the fact that the groups arrived with containers of assortments of products, of objects, such as stones, bricks, sticks, posters, etc., which they used in their demonstrations. The protests were not limited to Harare only, but also occurred in some other urban areas, such as Gweru, where properties were also destroyed. The demonstrations started peacefully in the morning in front of Harvest House, MDC Alliance headquarters, and it degenerated into violent protests as they split and moved to HICC, ZEC headquarters, and ZANU-PF headquarters, western side of the CBD, and ZANU-PF provincial offices, eastern side of CBD, as the day progressed. H, the Commission found that the rioters were forcing ordinary people who were conducting their day-to-day business to join the riots. This move did not spare the physically incapacitated members of the public. I, fake, fabricated, and biased news on social media contributed to the violence. J, having considered all the evidence, the Commission found on a balance of probabilities that speeches made by political leaders, mostly the MDC Alliance, before and after the elections heightened tensions and played a part in inciting some members of the public to protest. The influence of these speeches is evidenced by demonstrators reproducing, in many cases, word for word, the language used at the rallies in their songs and speeches during the demonstrations. During the pre-election rallies, the MDC Alliance had taken a position that if their presidential candidate, Nelson Chamisa, did not win the election, they would protest, a threat that they implemented. K, the existence of arms in the hands of other than the military and the police cannot be dismissed, especially considering video footage from ENCA where a journalist was sounding warning of someone shooting from a building. The allegations of business owners using weapons to protect their properties and the evidence of spent cartridge and a bullet head found in the second floor of Golon House. L, as evidenced by its chairperson before the Commission, ZEC complied with the electoral law. She said that if there are any deficiencies in the law, this should be debated in Parliament. M. The Commission found that opposition political parties mistrusted the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, during the recent elections. The intervention by the Zimbabwe Republic Police in the maintenance of law and order. The demonstrations were unsanctioned in terms of Section 25 of the Public Order and Security Act, as the police had not been notified. B. According to the evidence received by the Commission, the police orders to disperse the protesters were not effectively carried out. C. Evidence showed that the demonstrators employed a tactic of appearing, dispersing, and regrouping at different locations, thereby making it very difficult for the police to disperse them. D. The fact that the police were severely depleted because of duties at polling stations throughout the country and that they were ill-equipped did not help the situation. As the demonstrations degenerated into a riot, the police were overwhelmed. 3. The circumstances which necessitated the involvement of the military in assisting the maintenance of law and order. The evidence showed that the government deployed the military in accordance with the Constitution and applicable law. The deployment of the military to assist the police in emergencies is provided for in terms of Section 213, subsection 2 of the Constitution and Section 37, subsection 1 of the Public Order and Security Act, Chapter 11.17. There was compliance with the relevant law as evidenced by the trail of communication between the relevant government authorities. According to the evidence produced before the Commission, there is no doubt that many demonstrators became riotous and they caused substantial damage, with several cars being set ablaze, and there was a serious threat to public safety. Moreover, there is evidence of damage to fuel pumps at Zuba service station at number 100 Chinoy Street, when about 60 protesters attacked the station. This evidence indicates that there was a risk of the service station being set alight. Given the nature of these actions, it was clear that had the riots not been curbed, the situation could have escalated, resulting in disastrous consequences. C. It was therefore not surprising that the Commissioner General of Police requested the Minister of Home Affairs to initiate the steps required by the Constitution and applicable law for the deployment of the army to assist the police in the containment of the riots and the restoration of law and order. The Commission found that on the basis of all the prevailing circumstances and in the light of all the evidence presented, including the raid, the rapid escalation of the situation in a very short space of time, the decision to deploy the military to assist the police in the containment of the riots was justified. E. The deployment could only have been avoided if the police were adequately experienced, better equipped, sufficient in numbers, and more suitably organized. While recognizing that in the circumstances the deployment was unavoidable, the Commission considers that it would have been preferable if the police had been able to deal with the situation on their own. Whilst the deployment was lawful, the operational framework in terms of Section 57, subsection 2 of POSA was not followed, in that the deployed troops were not placed under the command of the regulating authority due to time constraints as acknowledged by the Commissioner General of Police. 4. Whether the degree of force used was proportionate to the ensuing threat to public safety, law and order. A. Given that property and lives were under threat at various locations, and in light of the inability of the police to disperse the protesters, the firing by the army and the police of warning shots in the air in pursuit of their stated mission, which was to clear the CBD of violent protesters, was proportionate. B. However, the use of live ammunition directed at people, especially when they were fleeing, was clearly unjustified and disproportionate. C. The use of shamboks, button sticks, and rifle butts to assault members of the public indiscriminately was also disproportionate. 5. The extent of damage and injury caused. It is undisputed that 6 people died as a result of gunshot wounds, and according to the evidence from the 2 major hospitals, 23 people were injured as a result of gunshots and 1 person of assault. As noted above, in addition to these persons, there were 11 persons who did not attend these hospitals, who were injured as a result of actions of the military and the police. The total number of persons injured is therefore 35. B. The 6 dead bodies were collected from the following identifiable places. 1. Sylvia Maposa at the corner of Inezi Terrace and the Kenneth Kaunda Avenue. 2. Ishmael Kumire, Cameron Street, close to the intersection at Cameron Street and Jason Moyo Avenue. Gavin Dean Charles, 4th Street and the Speck Avenue. 4. Jonas Chikandira, Nelson Mandela Avenue and Resende Street. 5. Challenge Tauro, died in Paranato Hospital. And 6. Brian Joao, Copacabana area, is noted in the post-mortem report. C. The Commission's finding on a balance of probabilities from all the evidence received is that the deaths of these 6 people and injuries sustained by the 35 others arose from the actions of the military and the police. At least 6 persons sustained injuries as a result of the actions by the protesters. Several people and institutions had their property, including vehicles and wares, either looted, damaged, or burnt. A detailed list of these is attached as Annexure 8. It is found in there. In addition, the negative impact of the riots on the economy of the country as a whole has been assessed and reported on by the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Annex 9. 6. Any other matter which the Commission of Inquiry may deem appropriate and relevant to the inquiry. A. The Commission received evidence of persisting grievance among communities, especially in Matabeleland and the Midlands, arising from events of the past such as Gukuraundi. B. The Commission was concerned about incidents of politically related violence against women before, during, and the post-election period. Recommendations. 1. Compensation. The payment of compensation is recommended for all victims of the violence and dependents of the deceased. Where the deceased had young children, they should be urgently assisted with the school fees and their general welfare. B. The government should put in place a special committee to assess and determine quantum of damages and compensation to be awarded to victims on a case-by-case basis. C. The government should set up a fund to assist those directly affected. D. There is urgent need to avail medical support to all the injured, such as Simon Chipokosa, who still has a bullet lodged in his leg, and Adrian Mujere, who requires physiotherapy for his hand. Political parties. There is a need for the registration of political parties so as to ensure accountability of party leaders. The enforcement of the ZAC Code of Conduct for political parties has been hampered due to the absence of institutional obligations on the part of political parties. A nationwide campaign should be initiated to raise awareness and educate political parties and members of the public in general on the proper parameters for peaceful demonstrations and respect for national institutions. C. Election candidates must abide by the ZAC Code of Conduct, and there is need for strict enforcement of the Code of Conduct. Parliament should consider passing a law to empower ZAC to sanction candidates who breach the Code of Conduct. D. A thorough review should be undertaken of all laws relating to hate speech, abuse of cyberspace, and incitement to commit acts of violence. E. Political parties should be encouraged at all times to preach unity for the benefit of all Zimbabweans in order for the people to be able to live together as citizens of one nation despite their political differences. 3. Electoral reforms. In order to enhance efficiency and transparency in the announcement of election results, the Commission recommends the development of ICT facilities for expeditious transmission of results to the command center as soon as practicable. B. The Commission recommends that Parliament should consider adopting legislation to shorten the time taken in the announcement of presidential results in future elections. Enforcement of law and order. The Commission recommends that Parliament should give consideration to align the POSA with the provisions of the Constitution on the deployment of the military internally. Police should be equipped with the necessary skills and capacity for dealing with rioters. C. Whilst the use of the military to assist the police for the control of public order is recognized worldwide, this should only be resorted to as a last measure in extraordinary situations. D. The Commission recommends, in the interest of national cohesion and the protection of all citizens, that the police should be further trained to be professional and non-partisan. E. The military should conduct an immediate and a full audit of its standing orders and procedures for engagement in law and order enforcement operations, including riot control, in order to identify in an appropriate public report the lessons learned and the tailored safeguards and targeted training to be undertaken to prevent any ill discipline that could lead to loss of life and injury in the future on the part of its forces in a highly politicized, tense, and stressful situations of crowd control. This would include the firing of warning shots not in accordance with its standing operational procedures. F. The military, in conjunction with the police, should consider and adopt contingency policies and plans for emergency situations when the exigencies of time do not permit detailed consultations, so that there are no gaps in the applicable procedure or any uncertainties or ambiguities, and that a workable operational plan at all levels is prepared in advance of any future possible disturbances. The important point is that corporate failings must be prevented in the future. G, the use of live ammunition as warning shots should be discouraged and should only be used in limited circumstances of danger to public safety. 4, nation building and reconciliation. The Commission recommends the establishment of a multi-party reconciliation initiative, including youth representatives with national and international mediation to address the root causes of the post-election violence and to identify and implement strategies for reducing tensions, promoting common understanding of political campaigning, combating criminality, and uplifting communities. B, the Commission recommends that the National Peace and Reconciliation and Human Rights Commissions should increase their efforts to fully implement their mandates. There is need for national healing as highlighted by the continued reference, especially in Bulawayo and Gweru, to events such as Kukurawundi. The Commission recommends that a special attention should be given to the issue of harassment and violence, especially against women in institutions and politics. Accountability. It is imperative for the police agency to complete their investigations to enable the prosecution of those persons responsible for all alleged crimes committed on the 1st of August 2018. Those particular members of the military and the police found to have been in breach of their professional duties and discipline on the 1st of August 2018 should be identified as soon as possible for internal investigations and appropriate sanction, which should include hearing from the victims and their families for impact assessment and to provide the necessary compensation. For the full report and executive summary, visit the following website: www.postelectionviolencecommission.gov.zw. For inquiries, contact the Secretary for Justice. The number is given. Way forward, the government will study the recommendations and decide the way forward. This, I have chosen the first part, the findings of the Commission and the recommendations of the Commission. But the board of the report is here, and you will find it on the website, which I've just articulated to you. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for your kindness and the patience to listen to such a long statement. I thank you.